I found a 20 bill, and cried for 10 minutes. No. I'm not so destitute that 20 will change my life. In fact, I live in a beautiful 5-bedroom house with a 3-car garage, so, definitely not. But let's rewind about 40 years, when I turned 10. And back then, 20 was a big deal. A huge deal. My allowance back in those days was 10 cents a week. Good for some bubble gum and a few Tootsie Rolls as I recall. We didn't have a lot, 2 working-class parents, and there wasn't much disposable income around. So when my 10th birthday rolled around and I opened my presents, what I got from my parents floored me. A crisp, not so brand new but who cares 20 bill. It may as well have been 20 million. The morning after my 10th birthday back in 1978 I hid that bill. I had no intention to spend it anytime soon, but I had some ideas. A cup gun and a shit ton of caps, those little red plastic circle ones, you know what I mean, but that would only add up to 8. Man, I was so rich. So anyway, I hid the bill, and I still have the vivid memory of thinking, this is a good hiding spot, I better not forget it. When I came home from school, surprise. New furniture. I was stoked. My room had been a collection of hand-me-down end-of-life dressers and a chair and an old desk. I was a kid, who cares, whatever, but this new colorful room was amazing. A couple of days later I went to get my 20 bill and drew a complete blank. The context of the hiding spot was gone. I just couldn't remember. I tore up the room looking for it, to no avail. I knew it had been somewhere in this room. My parents swore left, right and center that they'd opened every single drawer and cabinet of the old stuff before getting rid of it. All of whatever had been in there was in my new furniture. But they never came across the 20 bill. That 20 became legend in the household and the extended family. A lesson in the school of hard knocks. A lesson in being mindful. A lesson of not putting all your eggs in one basket. Much later in life, when I proudly mentioned to my parents that I'd cleared $200,000 in income for the year, my dad said, "Wow, that makes up like 10,000 times what you lost on your 10th birthday." The thing just never went away. And the mystery was never solved. My father passed away last year, and my parents had lived in the same house for over 50 years. My mom still lives there. And last weekend, I was over there helping her move stuff around, including arranging what's now a guest room and what used to be my room. And while moving stuff around, I ventured into the small walk-in closet, in which I hadn't been in a long time. And last time I was in that closet, I was shorter, and hadn't realized that there was stuff on a long shelf mounted near the ceiling. But there was stuff there, and I had a look. And I froze. What was there? It was one of those big desk things with huge sheets of paper, you scribble on it till it's full, messages, random notes, whatever. And when the thing looks like there's not a spot of white left on it, you rip off the top sheet and start in on the sheet below. And these big sheets were all on top of this leather thing with corners to tuck all the papers in. That thing had been on my old desk, but some newer version of it had arrived with the new furniture. And this old one had been placed on this shelf and forgotten. But the minute I saw it, I knew. I remembered. I yelled for my mom. She came running. What? This thing, Mom, remember this? And then she saw me reaching under one of those leather corners, and she also already knew. And there it was, beautifully folded exactly where I'd left it. I cried. She cried. I came home with the bill and showed it to my wife. I didn't even have to say what it was, just look what I found. She saw that 20 and began crying and held me for damn near 10 minutes while I sobbed like a 10-year-old kid who'd lost everything. And then found it again. Edit, I didn't expect this reaction in gold. Thank you, kind people. I'm happy this touched many of you with at least a bit of the emotion I felt. I've managed to not yet lose it again. Smiley face. Here's a pic. TLDR, I lost very meaningful 20 bill 40 years and found it a few days ago. Response 1.
You got your white whale. Now what you gonna do?
You heard the man, a cap gun and a ton of caps.
Yay, but that's only $8.
You're grossly underestimating the amount of caps he's gonna buy.
Say what you want about America, $20 can still get you a hell of a lot of mice caps.
Response 2.
Beautiful story. Clapping for you. Edit, I ain't even from America. I was just touched by the story and felt like clapping for him. Also, I clap for almost everything that's motivational.
This entire branch is by people who did not look at OP's pic of the 20 bill. It's Canadian money, folks.
Response 3.
That's a really beautiful story, man. Thanks for sharing.
Response 4.
Please tell me you're going to frame that 20 bill. You've got a great story there.
I will frame it this weekend and it will hang nearby where I can keep looking to see it's still there, smiley face.
Be sure to keep it hidden somewhere safe in the meantime. You wouldn't want to lose it again.
Remind me. 40 years.
Response 5.
That's a great story. I'm sitting here in my kitchen wiping away some tears because I know how you feel. This story was very relatable. Do you feel like you have this sense of closure now, a sense of happy relief? Did you think of your dad? Did a rush of memories fill your brain? How do you plan to keep the 20 now? What a great story, I'm so glad you found it.
The feeling of closure is surreal. The truth is I really hadn't thought of that bill in a while, well, like a month. It wasn't on my mind when I looked on that closet shelf, so it was an instant bolt of realization and then a ton of emotion. And on the drive home, none of which I remember, going over and over in my head how could I have possibly completely forgotten about that thing. And I guess, in hindsight, it was because once I'd written that thing out of my mind, I was so focused on everywhere else it could be, it just never entered my mind again. I thought of my dad, I thought of the countless discussion about this bill, I thought of all the places I looked. I'm gonna go blow 20 on complete and utter children's crap. Our kids aren't allowed a lot of candy junk. Halloween is the exception, and now this. We're going to walk to the gas station and load up on 20 worth of the kind of candy I would have bought back then. Toxic waste, shredded bubble gum. Then they can eat it and get stomach aches and I'll vicariously live through them. But of course, not with that actual bill. I will frame it and it will hang a short head turn away from my sightline in my office. It's propped up under my monitor as we speak. And it's so fucking beautiful. Perfect. I love the old bills, the detail is amazing.
Response 6.
Deleted.
How about you accidentally killed me?
Can't believe that actually worked.
Response 7.
I'd give you gold had I not been so poor myself. Thanks for the motivational story, bro.
I appreciate that, thank you. I have a similar story, perhaps someday I'll tell Reddit about it. But look, I think you should spend this money. You shouldn't keep it and here's why. Life gave you a second chance to fulfill one of your childhood dreams, a desire you had when you were a wee boy. So, you should honor that and do not pass the chance a second time.
Response 8.
I always think about going up to a random kid and giving them 20, knowing how meaningful it would be to them and how happy it would make them. But you can't do that without people thinking you're a perv. Also it would kind of condition them to trust strangers, which might be bad.
I like your idea. I read somewhere that Jim Carrey would leave 20s around the park for the homeless to find. So adapting his idea to achieve yours, I think we can tape bills on the playground sets in the parks. I'm going to do this now and write wholesome notes on them, smiley face.
Response 9.
Great story and great storytelling. This should be made into a Pixar short or something.
Response 10.
I browse Reddit for these moments. Thanks for sharing op, and rip to your old man.
Response 11.
Quote, it was one of those big desk things with huge sheets of paper. Desk blotter, we had 'em too. Great story.